All right, everyone, thank you for joining us. Time. It's one of the biggest assets in a contractor's tool belt, or it's the biggest liability, depending on which way you use it. I think one of the most important things you'll learn from this session is that the big, scary, overwhelming AI can be used to your advantage to free up time to do the things that you excel at. So welcome to this session, AI and Plumbing, How Smart Applications Can Lead to Smooth Waters Ahead. I am one of your moderators, John Masonbrink with Mechanical Hub Media, and I'm joined in co-moderating by Tim Ward on the far left, also with Mechanical Hub Media. We are joined by this all-star panel, beginning with Susan Frew, professional keynote speaker and tech guru working with the likes of AT&T Wireless. Susan, thank you. We are also joined by Mary Ann Bocott, she's over there. Contractor extraordinaire and owner of Westcom Plumbing and Gas from beautiful British Columbia, Canada. And I swear we won't talk tariffs. Maybe we will, I'm not sure. And John Mullen, a self-described tech nerd and former plumbing contractor from New York and current director of technical services, RPA technical liaison at IAPMO. Here we'll discuss trends in AI and how they can be applied in the plumbing and mechanical field and other actionable takeaways you can apply right away. So thank you for joining us. I also find it fascinating they chose the two oldest guys to moderate one of the hottest topics in the business today. So if you're like me, even the thought of AI, artificial intelligence, in everyday conversation seems a bit overwhelming. But Tim, you're no stranger to AI as you implement it in your everyday workday, right?
I do use AI a lot. As you know, we have Teams and Zooms calls daily. I use Otter AI to take all my notes. It allows me to go back, and especially when we're talking something really technical, it's very helpful to do. Obviously, AI is integrated in most of our social media platforms. There's software we use for business that utilizes AI. So it really is integral to everything I do from an admin and processing standpoint. But there are still things that I'd love to use it for our media company.
Yeah.
And I think in the future, we will be using more of it for our day-to-day integration for content that we post on our digital sites or use in our newsletters. So yeah, there is a lot of stuff we could be using to take advantage of AI.
Very nice. So in addition to transcribing notes or assisting on my kids' term paper or report using ChatGPT, I'm just curious, how many people in the audience use it willingly as part of your business portfolio? Okay, pretty good. Oh, very nice. Okay, very good.
I'm curious real quick, how many are here hoping that they can learn the secret sauce of utilizing AI in their business moving forward? Good.
All right.
Then don't ask me.
All right, Susan, you told me that AI is all around us, and if we ignore it, we certainly will be lapped by people willing to use it.
Yes.
In your words, you have said that it's like selling LED lighting versus selling a candle.
Yes.
So don't be caught holding the candle.
Yes.
Can you explain a little bit of this further?
Yes, I believe you need to compete on awesome with AI. And with that, our company saved $170,000 out of our annual budget last year using AI. So AI answering service, AI bookkeeper, AI for marketing, AI for the website. So we were able to not lay anyone off, but not hire new people. And we were able to reduce our operating expenses significantly because we were able to put some of these into play, especially on the marketing side. It was a huge win for us and put us in a position to now have an offer on our company. And the funny thing is that the buyers are not 100% believing us that we were able to save that kind of money by using AI. So now I'm having to go through the whole lineup with them.
This is your plumbing company in Denver?
Yes.
Yeah, very nice. So realistically, AI is all around us, whether we accept it or not. AI in general searches integrated into email, social media, targeted ads. It's been said that tradesmen and women are great at their skilled craft, but may not be the best business person. How do you see it playing an important part of the industry, John?
Yeah, I would say that data is all around you. Like that's the reason why these models work so well, and they'll continue to work so well, and they'll evolve. There's data in everything. Data points are everywhere around you. From the glance that you glance at something a little too long, and now it starts to get into your algorithm, and all things are starting to change in terms of the marketing side of things. But when you're a contractor, you can collect data almost in everything you do, whether it's labor hours, takeoff materials for things like that. Even for inventory, it comes in real handy. And then once you've collected all that data, you can figure out ways to optimize it by using AI. And really, you'll find those savings that Susan mentioned before. It's fascinating. It is eye-opening. You'll find a lot of mistakes that you've made over a long period of time, and it'll show you trends. It'll show you where you went wrong. But again, you got to collect data, and there's good data and there's bad data. So some you need, some you don't. But start small and start noticing what you're doing the most of and writing it down. I say start with Excel, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
To follow up on this, does it matter if it's a one-person shop or a multi-truck shop, Susan or John?
Well, I think the one-person shop actually has a really great advantage if they start using AI, because they'll be able to do a lot of the tasks that they would have outsourced or thought about hiring someone in office-wise to come in and do it, and they can automate it and go and do what they're great at, and do what they love too.
Okay.
Yeah, when you're a one-person shop, it can really save you a lot of time on the admin side. But when you have a whole bunch of trucks on the road and you have, you want to keep management of your fleet, that was something I've used out in the field when I was a contractor. GPS location on your tools, GPS location on your trucks, getting them in line with your scheduling with your customers. I mean, I really think that's a huge time saver. And there's so many applications now that do all that kind of for you. But again, you got to know what it is you want it to do. So collecting that data, finding the good data, the useful data, and plugging it into the right model to optimize it is really where you make your gains.
Well, Marianne, speaking on that, you're a one-person shop. What you're listening to Susan and John talk about utilization of AI. What comes to mind for you? And are there inefficiencies that you do on a daily basis that you could see utilizing AI to help do your job better?
Yeah, I would say that I'm not the most familiar with it, mostly because I wouldn't say that it freaks me out, but I just feel like there would be limitations with it. I see all these things about AI, and I'm not super techie, and I'm kind of old school when it comes to running my business, but you see these ads, I don't even want to say it because I don't want them to start showing up on my phone, that, they can arrange your schedule for you, prioritize all these things. And it's like, how do you know which one is the priority to me, though? So it's, I see it from that view where it's, I just don't know how that would work for me. But at the same time, the thought of being able to track your tools, and I do track my tools. I guess it would be with AI. I didn't even really think of it that way. I use a lot of Milwaukee tools, and they have their one key, and you can track and GPS location and all that, and I GPS all my vans. So having that log into my field service app is super handy because before I was just using QuickBooks for all my bookkeeping and all that. While I switched over to Jobber, and you have all your GPS locations in there. It tracks your vehicles, it clocks you in and out. I guess you would consider that would that be considered AI?
That is AI. That's automation.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, so I guess I've been using it without even really realizing it.
That's what I try to remind everybody, that they're using it all the time, whether they're on social media and they use the words to transcribe their voice when they're making posts and things like that, or they're optimizing their calendar. You mentioned that's a hard one because how do they know what you want? But you start talking to it like a person, and it will start learning your likes, your needs, and all those things. I mean, I always tell everybody, be nice to the robots. Please say please and thank you whenever you talk to them. Who knows? Who knows what the future is going to hold? But treat them like a person.
Yeah.
Talk to them like a person. Tell them what it is you want to do today, what it is you like to do. You want to find some holes in your schedule. Why? Tell them why. Maybe you got to hit a yoga class at the end of the day. It'll start putting those things into your schedule. It's actually really neat. you know. But
You know, I couldn't fit everything into my suitcase, so I used advanced voice mode on ChatGPT, and I videoed while I was talking to it and said, "Can you help me pack my suitcase?" And it gave me a diagram of where everything should go.
That's
So
awesome.
it was really fun.
That's crazy.
Cool things like that too.
Well, I remember attending a panel, this is maybe 10 years ago, and the keynote speaker was just doom and gloom about AI. It's taking over, it'll take over plumbing jobs and things like that. But I honestly feel plumbing is relatively safe of
Yeah.
taking over AI. But John, you do say that there will be a time when
Yeah, I've got a distinct opinion about this. I do think we are going to reach a time where robotics are going to get a little bit smarter and do the tasks that we don't want to do.
Yeah.
I spent a lot of years out in the field. I'm 20 years in the field now. I'm fourth generation plumber. I've been on my knees all my life. I've had knee surgeries on both. I've had a back surgery already. There are things that can save your body out in the field, and there's also things for accessibility terms when you want to bring other folks into the trades, people who aren't as strong. Exoskeletons can help you lift pipe. When I was in the field, you had to put two people on a length of 4-inch cast iron. With an exoskeleton, you might be able to just put one person on there, and then there you're saving labor. There's going to be a lot of opportunities for new tools in the future, and it might not be like just a robot doing it on its own.
Yeah.
I do think that's a little dystopian, but who knows? It could get there, but it would save me from crawling in a crawl space. I'm all for it.
You say dystopian, but we go downstairs, there's a robotic
Yes,
security officer
yes.
downstairs on the first floor.
it?
that
Yeah.
is,
Yeah.
it's
I
kind of
miss
cool.
that.
Turner Construction put on 100 some odd Boston Robotics dogs, those spots, and they walk around the job sites and they look for safety issues. They look for code issues. They look for all sorts of things that are happening on the job site. And before we know it, they'll be built into our hard hats, and they'll be tracking labor hours, and things will get a little tighter in the field when it comes to monetary.
You know what would be cool? This is just me thinking about this. If you can figure out how to pick up how many people are on their phones during work schedules, or how many people logged into Instagram or Facebook while you're on the clock.
My car does that.
Yeah.
If I pick up my phone
that's
and my
possible.
phone goes on,
Your car tells-
State
yeah.
Farm knows that I picked up
Yep.
my phone on that drive, and they're gonna ding me on my insurance. So it'll come out to be a monetary thing because insurance is so expensive. When you're just trusting everybody out in the field to do the right thing, sometimes things go wrong. And anybody who owns a contracting firm has known this and have experience of this. It might keep everybody on their best behavior.
Yeah.
But here's the thing, though. If you are not going to use AI, your competitors are going to. So they're going to realize those operational efficiencies, which will then, decrease their operating expenses, their whole OpEx, which is going to put you at a competitive disadvantage if you don't get on board in some ways.
Yeah.
Real quick housekeeping. If anybody has a question, we prefer to wait until the end of the session, but if it's something that's topical and important, just raise your hand and I'll come out or walk up to the mic and ask the question.
So what role can AI play in optimizing project management in scheduling per se? Susan, you brought up an example on our Zoom call before this about this barn dominium project that you had been working on. Can you talk about that?
So I do some on-site consulting for several different industries, not just plumbing and heating. But one of them had a situation with their overtime. They run on a 24-hour schedule, 365 days a year. And what they were realizing is some employees on some shifts were standing around with their hands in their pockets, and other employees were banking a bunch of overtime. And we were able to take that data, the historical data, out of spreadsheets, and I actually built them a custom AI to do this. They evaluated all of that and came up with a more equitable schedule when people were working even in their busy seasons, and they saved $131,000 just on that one task because of the situation with they couldn't figure it out. They had all these spreadsheets, and they're a third-generation company. They were running 75 years in, and it would just kept piling up, and they were able to do that right out of the gate.
Very, very cool.
What application? So I built it inside of ChatGPT 4.0. So what I did then is I built it to evaluate the past spreadsheets and then to look at the months where they were busy and months that they were slow. And we evaluated then how many man hours we needed on what shifts. And that's how we were able to do it. And then we were able to go and take advanced voice video mode in the factory And I taught them how to do that. So they are now using that to build some inefficiencies. They're showing the AI this situation and asking it to come up with a suggestion, and it's doing it. Yes, it's really cool.
Yeah, building large language models on the GPT 4.0 is pretty fun. I've got one myself that kind of handles the social media side of things, the digital profile of contractors, and how do you actually optimize your businesses. And you can go into my Throw a Wrench in Your Plans Media ChatGPT, and you could ask it questions as if it was me. And it's pretty neat because it's got all my writing, it's got all my expertise built into it. Because I do say one day we're going to try to put this stuff in a decentralized model and kind of protect the craft as well. We all have little tools of the trade. So building those GPT models for yourself is also really cool to do, building these little decentralized models.
Yeah.
It's fun.
AI agents.
Yeah.
Also, I think it's going to be like the App Store. Like this is the
Yeah.
beginning of the App
It
Store.
is. Yep.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah. So John, as an early adopter of AI, how can contractors get like basic introductions to it? Oh, here he goes.
I'm gonna throw on my Meta glasses for this one. All right, so there's tools out there you can get. I know these look a little nerdy, but I could record you guys right now if I have your consent. But you put these things on, and being on a job site, this would have been tremendous. I was a chief estimator for a big plumbing company in New York for a lot of years, and I walked jobs every day. I mean, I've seen some of the worst plumbing anybody's ever seen because I was that one out there to go out and fix it. But so often you would miss things, and you go out into the field and you come back to the office and you'd be looking at your camera profile, your company cam, and it would be very hard to actually put together a comprehensive estimate. I think nowadays with modern tools like this, I carry this little guy around here in my pocket. It's called Claude. It records conversations. Again, consent is important. But what it does is it provides you detailed, actionable items, like almost like a meeting minutes for things. And so when you get back to the office, it could really optimize your ability to put together a proposal for a customer and not miss anything that's important. Hence, saving a lot more money. It really comes down to labor hours and how much time you're going to spend putting something out in the field. And if you could do a job site walkthrough with something like this, or record a conversation you had with your customer, it could really be a game changer.
So Marianne, you said that you had a pair of these, but you just haven't had a chance to use them.
Well, so I actually have 2 pairs because I wanted the sunglasses too for outside. I'm a roofer as well, so
They transition to worlds.
Yeah, that's probably what I should have done, but didn't get the memo. So, but I found that they're a bit of a pain sometimes. They're not perfect. Yes, it makes a great video, and they're fantastic in some aspects, but at the same time, they unsync all the time. You have to reboot them all the time. So it is still fresh technology, I think, for the Meta
For sure.
glasses and all that. So it still has a ways to come, because it's to the point that I just don't even use them anymore.
I don't know if everybody understands exactly what they are, right? Do you guys all know what he's talking about, the Meta glasses?
Oh, sorry. Okay, so
Yeah.
Meta glasses,
Yeah.
they are glasses or sunglasses or apparently transitioning glasses that you can take photos, you can video, you can look at a sign, like say you're in another country and it's written in another language, you can ask the glasses to translate that sign for you and it will tell you what it says. They're pretty cool. I have not used them for that because
I'll tell you a little more about them. There's speakers built into the sides of them.
Yeah.
You can take phone calls. You can listen to music. It's no earbuds or anything like that, so it's kind of you're a little more involved in the world, which is kind of the purpose of some of these new technologies. Let's get back out into the world. Let's get a little out of our phones and get back to being people. So I think this is important to have something like this where you can ask it to do certain things, like tell me what you're seeing, and it'll give you a description.
Site,
It'll give you a description of all sorts of things. I've tried it at the dinner table with my family, and it knew exactly what we're all eating. And it's quite impressive, but again, the data has to get there. These models are still so new, they're still so fresh, and they're small. We're building them out. People are going to be the ones who build this model out. That's what AI is. It's an amalgamation of all of us. So I tell everybody, just feed it good data and be on your best behavior.
Yeah, and another thing too, if you have an employee on a job site wearing the Meta glasses, you could be back at your shop and they could be evaluating what you're doing. So it's a really great way of saving that time from a supervisor having to come to that spot right then and there, or tech support.
We used to use FaceTime a lot when it first came out and things like that. project manager for a lot of years, and you get techs who have questions about certain things. Now it could be hands-free, and they could just show you exactly what they're seeing with their eyes. You're not getting the whole, I don't know how to use a phone, I'm turning around. Sometimes it's hard.
But also the AI could be evaluating it as well.
Yeah.
So in the field, my husband's been using it to evaluate a problem and to find parts. So
That's
if it's
interesting.
not a part that they have, like, okay, here's the problem, this is what I need, where can I get this? And it will tell you. And that's just amazing. It's awesome. Saves so much time.
So to continue on that though, John, is are the glasses? Does it have the ability to record and archive that information?
Yeah, so it records whatever you hit the little thing, you saw my little light, it lets everybody know that you're not spying on them. And it records the conversation and sends it to the app. And when you're on the app, it download it right to your phone, and you can throw it in folders.
So long as it's still synced up.
So long as it's still synced up. But it gives you a little, like, so when I just hit that button up on the top here to turn it on, it gave me, you guys didn't hear it, is a little chime to let me know that it's recording. So there's an inside light, so I know that it's actually recording, and then there's an outside light, so you know that it's actually recording. So yes, you have to make sure it's synced up all the time. You have to have a good smartphone. I run Google Android. I think it's probably one of the better ones, in my opinion. I know everybody likes their iPhones and their Apple stuff, but
So you mentioned consent, and I think that's a huge thing of privacy and things like that. How do you, other than just asking someone when you're in a home or on a job site, that could get kind of messy.
you got to know the laws too. I mean, it's
Yeah.
different everywhere. My home state, North Carolina, you can film and record anybody anywhere, which I think is kind of weird. But where I hail from is New York, and you can't do any of that stuff. And it's very different. You have to actually ask, and you have to maybe sometimes sign an agreement. I mean, I've been in people's homes where I've signed non-disclosures because you're working for a celebrity or you're doing this, and that might not be the tool that you want to bring into their home. Certainly there's other scenarios where you just don't want to bring in recording devices, whether it's a government job or something high clearance, and many of us have been on those types of
In
jobs.
addition to that, we've talked about efficiencies, we've talked about reducing costs, but there's an entry cost to get into using AI. Those glasses are not free. What are some of the ground floor? What are we talking about to get in, to really start initiating utilizing AI in your company? What kind of costs are we talking about?
Well, almost everybody's using Excel already. I think that's like one of the best places to start. And with Copilot integration and the OpenAI involvement with them, they've really kind of started working together very nicely. So
What
there's
was
a lot
it?
of
Can you
ways to
repeat
analyze
that? What
data.
was it?
Copilot for Microsoft.
Okay.
So OpenAI and Microsoft have an agreement right now, and they are working together on some products. And Excel's got, the whole Microsoft suite has things built into it now with AI. And like I said before, start collecting that data, and by the time you have a decent amount of data collected, there'll be other tools that I don't even know about today to help you optimize that data.
And if you're not on Team Microsoft, you might be on Team Google, like me. And Google Gemini has really come really to the forefront.
Yes.
And it's been very helpful. You can rewrite emails. A lot of people complain that email takes a lot of time. You agreed?
Yeah.
Email's a giant time suck. So the Google Gemini or the Copilot 2 will summarize those emails for you. And Google even has a really great product, which is free, Notebook LM, and you can put anything in there and it will make an audio recording for you.
Yeah.
So it really will help you to get that part of your day out of the way in the morning using some of those tools in there.
Gemini's really come a long way. Google bought DeepSeek, or not DeepSeek, DeepSeek is that new one. But what was it, the other one that they bought a couple years back?
Minstrel.
But they spent a lot of effort. I was a beta tester on Gemini for about a year before it actually came out to the public. I have a Pixel phone. If anybody's familiar with a Pixel phone, it's an open Android. It takes really great photos, takes really great videos, but what's cool about it is it's got the Gemini baked into it. So it starts to learn your schedules. It starts to learn how many times a day you're walking. It starts to learn when you're sedentary, when they have times you can fill in the blanks. And it's really interesting, the questions that you can ask it. It's gotten so much better over the last 6 months, I'd say.
Absolutely.
And I've been on ChatGPT for a while. I told you I built out that large language model there. I'm a little bit all over the place because I feel like you have to be right now, just diversified in the subject.
Well, you asked about the cost, though. So there's one app that I love. It's a desktop app. It's called, chathub.gg. And make sure you do the GG because the other one is a porn site. I don't want to be responsible for that. But you can get in there
Not
the
safe for work.
upgraded version of Gemini, ChatGPT, Microsoft Copilot, even DeepSeek, all of them. and you can put one prompt, and they'll all answer at the same time, up to 6 of them at the same time. So you can kind of see which one is giving you a better response. And it's $19 for all of them. You know, you may decide that you want to dig in deeper on one of them, but that's a really great way to get started for $19 a month.
There's so many free ones out there. I mean, there's
That's
plugins.
true.
There's plugins for YouTube. I use one called Glasp, and it's a little plugin for YouTube, and you don't even have to watch the video. It just will give you a scenario and a summary to tell you if you even want to finish it. You know, it's really, there's so many things out there. You just got to get into those app stores and the GPT app stores and look
Just
through
try it.
Gemini, try it out. It's just right now we're all just playing. And hopefully everybody's going to put decent data into this thing so that it eventually becomes very usable. So it's exciting.
Marianne, you're listening to them. Are the wheels turning? Are you thinking of ways that you're going to go home to Canada to utilize this, some sort of AI more in your processes on your daily jobs?
I mean, yes, it all sounds very wonderful, and I would love for something to just do all my emails for me because they're so time consuming and I hate it. But I also find that it's very overwhelming. All the information on it, like the Gemini and the one that sounds like the porn site, and it's all, there's just so much. I find that there's so much information out there, but I'm having a problem applying it because there's so much information. We've had a couple talks, 3, talks about this, and I just,
It can be a little bit overwhelming.
it's super overwhelming, especially for somebody, yes, I do use it. I use softwares that make my business run a lot smoother than it used to be, which is fantastic. I do save thousands of dollars a month. And just with a very small company, I've saved thousands of dollars a month by applying what I did not know was AI. But when it comes to that other stuff, I do find it very overwhelming, and I want to try and apply it to my business. I want to try and apply it to those long hours in the morning that I spend on the computer, and that's not why I got into construction, was to
You got to
do
think
that.
about it like hiring an assistant.
Yeah,
You have
and-
to train that assistant too. So it's like that's where it gets a little complicated. You
Yeah,
have to
but
tell them
then
what to
it's
do.
like the time to do it is,
Yes.
We all struggle, I'm sure, with time.
Oh, yeah.
Can we not agree with that?
That's a human
Everybody milks every single minute. I don't know about you guys, I do anyways. Every minute of the day is accounted for. And to spend the time to learn something, just the thought of it makes me want to vomit.
Well, I have a helpful hint for that. So what I recommend to people when they want to get started is you go through the next week, when you get back to your office, the next week, and start jotting down things that you do not enjoy doing and you wish you didn't have to do anymore. Right? So I always say you have to go old school before you go new school. Because if you start slapping AI on things without having hey, this is broke and I want somebody to fix it, then you're going to get really overwhelmed. But if you start just jotting down, no judgment, or don't even find a tool or whatever, say, I don't like doing this, I don't like doing that. If it's too many things, you might need a new career. But just start writing it down, and then you can go out and look for something that can be an assistant for you.
Or somebody to help you provide those rules for your assistant so that
Yep.
they can actually do the job for you. I think the best people who are going to be using these things in the future is honestly the managerial class. I think people who are used to telling people what to do, providing scopes of work, providing things for task by task situations. I think those are the ones who are going to actually get the most out of this with the prompt engineering. The Gemini that I mentioned earlier, it's in my text messages, so I can treat it like a person or a friend. And say, hey, can you go get this for me? Or I'm going on a vacation to Orlando. Can you tell me what's available for me to do today and put me together an agenda?
Right.
And you don't have to train that model to kind of figure out what you want, but you can talk to it like a person, which is
I have an idea for all those that are in the same boat as me. So let's make that archaic list on paper, or maybe not on paper, because, well, I guess you could, because
Yeah,
you
it's
can now
paper.
snapshot
scan it,
and then
yep.
scan it. Yeah, okay, so I've done that. Take that list and put it into ChatGPT, because I
Yes.
have used ChatGPT, not a bunch, but I have used it, and ask this ChatGPT how it can help manage that list.
Yes.
I think you'd be
Especially the
And it will
emails.
spit out answers.
It will spit out a
Yeah,
whole
and
bunch
then
of
it'll
great
give me
answers.
answers because it is quite impressive.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah, and you could ask
Even
it for
the
multiple
free
options.
version.
You can ask it for multiple options too, because the first one might not be suiting.
Yeah.
You know, you might just say, well, that one's not for me, and that's how you'll reply back. Thank you, but no thank you. I say, be nice, but tell it exactly what you want it to do, and it will do that job for you. And it's pulling from a whole bunch of new things every single day. So it's only getting better.
John, Susan, interesting question, and I'm asking you to put on a different hat. How do we leverage and/or what roles or responsibilities do the manufacturing partners that we work with have in helping provide training or support for AI and how they utilize it, and or contractors that work with those manufacturers?
I could start. I mean, some of these manufacturers are baking AI maintenance schedules right into their appliances. I mean, you got boilers and water heaters now that talk to some sort of program that might be proprietary, but also should hopefully in the back end have some sort of open source tool that you can actually bake into your own large language model for your business. Because like I said before about coming up with those schedules and things like that, there's so many ways to optimize how you can actually be there for your customer. And you know, if your water heater or your boiler has predictive maintenance built into it, you know, that's just like keeping track of when you installed it and when you're next suited to go out and change a filter. You know, these types of things, like, you know, it can give you the forecast kind of early, but again, you need to bake that data into the model. So it's,
You know, my answer to that is that if the manufacturers and the associations are going to be offering training of any sort, it needs to be real practical applications. You can use this to do this and to solve this problem. You know, it's great to see the big futurists and being like, oh, well, in 5 years, 10 years, this is going to happen. Okay, great. But how can I use this tomorrow in my business to help me with my problem? Which is a lot of times overwhelm or strategy or analytics. AI is the best analyzer ever. You know, if you want to look at historical data from the last 5 years on a spreadsheet, you know, by cloaking your personal information, throwing it in there and asking it to evaluate your business in that way, you're going to get answers that's going to blow your mind and be extremely helpful to you on how you navigate the next year of your business.
yeah.
Well, Susan, you mentioned going old school before you go new school.
Yes.
John, you ran a business in New York, a contracting business. Again, like, let's talk about where to start. Like, what are some, like, not five, but, you know, maybe a few things that when you sit down, what would you do to start using AT?
You know, when I was running this company, it was way before some of these GPT tools existed, but automation has always been like something I've been really fascinated with my whole life. I like streamlining things. I like finding the fundamental reasons of why you're doing things. Susan mentioned it, the if this, then that. That's what this is all about. It's if this happens, then that happens. You know, I built smart homes for the same reason. You pull in the driveway, your driveway door opens up, lights go on, music comes on. Those are like little things that you have to program that kind of stuff, but you can do that in your business the same way. So like, you know, when you get back to the shop, maybe you want to get a report on your inventory. And when I was working in the field, I had 120 trucks on the road. My brother was managing my purchasing department, and we had QR codes and all these different types of modalities to track our inventory. And it was difficult to do that at first because, you know, you'd have to get behavioral changes. I mean, that was the hardest part. You know, getting one of the guys to come in and scan, you know, that he's taken 6, you know, half-inch 90s, and then that would deduct from my inventory. So I knew that, you know, my brother knew that he had to order, you know, more 90s, so that tomorrow we would be more streamlined. And a lot of companies don't do this kind of stuff. They just buy in bulk, and they just see the bin is empty, or maybe they spend a lot of time at the supply house. I know a lot of those guys who hang out at the supply house all day long. These are ways to save money. When you're in labor, labor's the most expensive part. And I was chief estimator for a lot of years, and I know that it's almost 2/3 of your estimate almost every time. And if you could start streamlining those hours, I mean, it really makes a big difference. And it also makes a big difference in just how your company is like represented too. I think it's way more professional. If you show up to a job with everything you need, you're not running to Home Depot or to the supply house just because your inventory is tracked well. It is a simple way to start. Again, it starts with spreadsheets. It starts with, you know, certain contacts to your supply house and getting them on that same automation schedule with you. The same way I talked about when your boiler needs maintenance or your water heater needs maintenance. Yeah, we're talking about a lot of different manufacturers and a lot of different programs right now. But my hope is that all this information, all this data that seems somewhat proprietary, can be built into some sort of business model that you can use for your specific business. and helps you treat your customers better, be there for them, and obviously make more money.
Well, speaking of making more money, dirty word, private equity.
Yeah.
How is AI going to make a company better and more attractive for a private equity company to come in and buy it?
Well, you got the stats. You got
Yeah.
all the stats, just like a baseball card. Tells you everything. Your profits and losses are the most important thing when somebody's coming into your business. Look at, like, you get one of these guys from mergers, acquisitions coming into your business.
Yeah.
They want to see your P&L. That's the
I
first
know.
thing they're going to ask
Yep.
for. And if you're keeping good track of those things, I mean, you can really show the valuation of your business. And when you're talking private equity or taking a business public, you have to show that valuation, and it's really important. If you're the first one to collect that data and show it, you're going to get a better buyout for your business if that's what you're willing to do or that's what you want to do.
Yeah.
Otherwise, maybe even just knowing what you got, is also a nice thing to have too when somebody comes knocking on your door, which I've had a couple of times as well.
Yeah.
And sometimes you're just not ready to sell, and you just say, listen, I'm worth this much. You can come in here and you're insulting me, but I can show you exactly how much I've made. I can show you how many impressions and how many people see my ads and all these other things that people be like, you know all that?
Well,
Like,
you're
yes,
fourth
I collect all
generation,
that.
so it's not your grandfather's company anymore.
Correct. Yeah, I'm fourth generation, but I've always worked side by side with CEOs, so I've always stayed very much involved with the business end of things, and it is. But again, I was an automation guy before AI even came out, so I was probably just the annoying one with all the spreadsheets at the time. But it made your business valuable, and you knew what it was worth.
Yeah.
So.
And I mentioned earlier, our experience is that we do have someone looking at our company now. And they're like, wait a minute, how did 23 to 24 look so different? Like, what's going on here? And so now I'm having to show like all my spreadsheets, but of course I have really fancy reports because I just throw them into AI and I print, so it's pretty cool, to be able to do that. And that's going to continue to happen because I think that this next few years, private equity is going to get a lot stronger. It maybe took a little bit of a dip there, but the interest rates will probably start going down, and we will start seeing that activity pick up again. So you want to be ready. Like if you're thinking it's time to bail, like start using these tools to get your costs down so you have a higher EBITDA and be more attractive to a buyer.
Yeah.
So Tim mentioned it's not your grandfather's industry. Automating this info and data, I'm guessing, can only help with workforce development. How so, John?
Well, with training, I mean, it's unbelievable. I did my 5-year apprenticeship out on Long Island, New York, Local 200. But again, I started out in the field, and working with my grandfather, my great grandfather. There's ways to like collect all this ancestral history about the craft, and I think that's something that we're all struggling with right now. Is like, do we want to give up that craft to people like private equity, or do we want to hold on to it for ourselves? I joke that my kids probably won't go out into the field in the future, and they'll probably send Grandpa John, the plumbing robot, out to go make some money, and they'll have generational wealth. But it'll only be because I saved my craft for me, and I knew what my craft was worth, and all the tricks of the trades that my family taught me over the years. But there's also standardization that has to happen across the industry as well when it comes to actually being safe and understanding how the codes operate and making sure that you're in line with regulatory compliance when you're doing projects, and you're not just the 30-pack jack doing the installations. It really comes down to we're training people better so the job sites are safer, so the built environment is safer. And it's hard to do, but it's happening right around us at the moment. You're seeing these VR training programs all over the place now. You probably see a couple on the floor today with some simulators where you can get in a machine. And honestly, I see a lot of those simulators being useful in the field because it can, instead of being like a one-to-one, like a man in a machine, it could be a man in a simulator and 100 robots in the machine. And that might be great for something like mining. That might be great for some really hard task jobs that are really unsafe and really not helping anybody in a lot of ways. So I do think the training is getting a little more streamlined, but we're still building.
Well, Susan, at what opportunity, or from your perspective, when do we hire a consultant? When do we reach out to a professional in the industry to help our business get better initially, to help ramp up that AI program?
Well, I think that some of it can be done on your own. right? Because you go old school before you get new school, understand the situation that you have. And just like anything, we've heard this for a million years, keeping the end result in mind. So what do you want to accomplish with the AI? And that's really important. Do you want to streamline? Do you want to get bigger? Do you want to sell? Do you want to expand? What does that look like? And knowing that, and if you have a really strong goal on that, then I think you could bring someone in and really get the juice, because then this way you also want to bring all of the people involved in your processes around the table and in the old school part, and really evaluate what parts of the business are working great, what parts need improvement, what parts can be streamlined. Some parts maybe you just need to ditch them, or you evaluate that one part of your business just isn't profitable, and and the AI can help you with that. But I mean, we can get ROI pretty fast, on site in a company. I think you need to have sort of a more formidable size company to get started, but I definitely think that you can get a ton of traction before everybody else does, because you want to get this done before the guy across the street gets it done.
Yeah. If you're a business owner, you probably already have goals. Goals is something everybody should be working on, just even on a personal level. But when it comes to actually bringing in a consultant to set those KPIs, key performance indicators, they help you kind of watch the steps you're walking across as you start to get towards your goal. I think that's where you might want a consultant. That might be where you can actually dig into it, find the low-hanging fruit that you can go after right away.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of information been shared here. Sometimes I feel like I'm in my accountant's office and my eyes are bleeding and I'm just glazed over. But what are some things you want the audience to take away from this today?
Well, for me, I sound like a broken record, but start jotting down all the stuff you don't like doing.
Yeah.
And that's really number one. And then you can start figuring out what you can do from there.
Yeah, I would say the same kind of thing. Just start collecting that data, whether it's in a spreadsheet. Just start monitoring everything you're doing, and then just don't be afraid to start playing with some of the tools. I brought out my Meta glasses. I brought out my Claude AI. These things are accessible. You can go order them on Amazon and try them for a couple of weeks, and if you don't like them, send them home. But there's apps for everything, and Mary mentioned it. It's so overwhelming. There's so many new friends, whether it's Gemini or ChatGPT, that you need to start getting friendly with and start to tell them a little bit about your life and your experience to see if they really can actually be useful for you. But don't be afraid to start. I mean, I think that's kind of the key. It's being baked into everything. So talk to it like a human. Say please and thank you.
My phone just updated that AI intelligence. AI intelligence on my emails. So.
It's all around us. Yeah. It's all around us all the time.
I definitely think as you're on the show floor today, you will see AI in the booths. There is no doubt that manufacturers are incorporating it into their everyday processes. Technology is growing rapidly, and it's a really cool thing. Real quick, are you learning a lot today?
I am. I feel like I should be in the audience personally.
No, we're glad you're here, and I
came as the one that doesn't know anything about. Well, I guess John.
Me too. I gotta be honest.
What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna make that list. I'm gonna see how it can help, because I know that I could alleviate so much time and money. I mean, and it's it's not all about the money, but it sure is nice. So I know that I can automate a lot of things. I already have, even within the last 3 years since getting these different platforms and these different apps to help with my company, Jobber, Company Cam. There's more anyways, but they do, you can talk into the app and go through the job and be like, okay, well this one's incomplete, this one's over here, you take photos, and it'll create a list for you, a checklist of things that need to be completed before you can finalize that job, which is great, rather than we have spell check and delete. It's just one of those things that instead of spending all these minutes, 5 minutes to make this list, you're now just spending seconds to make this list. So it's definitely out there. I would like to implement more, try and save myself some time.
Time is money.
Time is money. It's the time. I just don't have
Well,
time.
I would be remiss if I didn't say congratulations. You are on tomorrow's episode of American Plumber Stories, and for
It's today, actually.
Is it today, actually?
Yeah.
So
I may have already been told that it's out there to the world.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Super cool.
American Plumber Stories, I have an episode that is today. So it's on YouTube.
You know,
Yeah.
I also want to add one other thing that you could and should do. You need to be pushing your partners, so your marketing company, website company, whatever. You need to be making sure that they are taking you into the next phase of AI and marketing, because I think some of them are going to fall behind, and you need to be asking those questions. Like, well, can you reduce my costs on pay-per-click? How are you optimizing my site and my keywords now? Because AI is different than the way it was in the $300 billion Google camp that was running for so long. So these are the kind of questions that you need to be asking.
Very cool.
Speaking of questions, do we have any questions from the audience? Let me jump down real quick and get the mic for you.
I appreciate you guys first. Secondly, a lot of the AI improvements we talked about were kind of admin related. Obviously, we spoke about Boston Dynamics, Meta Glasses, field surveying, all that good stuff. But from a design and technical standpoint, how can we utilize AI to improve that side of plumbing?
Yeah, I would say there's a lot of softwares that work on the design side of things that are really starting to bake AI into it. This morning we had a session for the RPA on LoopCAD, talking all about their 3D modeling and different types of things for radiant heating in the floors. There's going to be a lot of these things that are baked into softwares like that will help find your inefficiencies, find where you missed a spot, which is going to be very helpful. I mean, I say I come from the estimating world, and it's kind of the same thing. Say the drawing was drawn without venting, and that happens all the time. Are you just not going to take off the venting? Well, not if you're a good estimator. You know that you're going to have to put vents. You know that it's code compliant. So these types of questions you're going to be able to ask the software in the future, I would imagine. And companies like Revit are working on these 3D models for the digital twins of the world. And all this stuff is going to kind of be baked into that metaverse cake, I think, at some point. So I'm kind of excited about the design side of things, getting a little bit more involved into the field, and just making it out into the field in a better way. So when you're doing your field drawings, you're sending home your last set of plans, your as-built to get your final requisition. You're able to make those changes on the fly on your iPad, whether it's in Procore or something like that. We used to use Procore out in the field, which was really helpful in the beginning when, instead of sending somebody out with a spec book, you type in P1 toilet and it shows you exactly, what the rough is. Those things are really helpful. And so the digitization of all of this is really just starting to emerge. So it's really exciting. It's an exciting time for our industry. I really do think so. There's a lot of opportunity.
Sir, you've got a question?
Lots of questions.
You mentioned the need for collecting data. I think most companies already have already create invoices, and there's a lot of information in the detail on what was charged and what was spent, and so are you aware of any tools that could be used to mine that data? Especially if it's on PDF format or Excel format.
What program are you using to do these invoices?
Like I said, probably Excel is the base, and those are converted into PDFs.
Okay.
So Excel and
you
PDF.
could collect all of your Excel data, and you want to put it into a CSV file. The way, I don't know exactly why, but AI evaluates, they'll do it better with a CSV unless it's built into Excel. But if you just wanted to export that information into one spreadsheet, a CSV, you could put it into our ChatGPT's 4.0, sort of a basic one, and it will evaluate. And you want to tell it, though, so this is what you want to say. You want to say, you are an amazing CFO in the plumbing industry. You tell it who it's going to be. And I want you to evaluate this sheet and do this, this, and this. And then it will give you a result. Now, if that's not exactly what you were looking for, you might need to go back into round 2. But it's like if you're training an employee. You ask the employee to give you this result. Well, you're not quite there. Tweak it a little, ask another question, and you can just keep going with that until you get the answers that you need.
There's also ways to categorize those Excel sheets.
Yeah.
So I used to do a lot of new construction, and I had certain developers that I worked for that just didn't care about your takeoff. They just wanted to know, what's your price per square foot? And I'm like, I'm a plumber. We don't work we don't work per square foot. But if you have the data collected and you know exactly how much you're spending on a multifamily unit and per floor, you can actually break that down by square foot. And it's not just actually what you estimated, it might be what the job results were based upon your requisitions or your invoices. So having that data available and when you actually were able to bill for certain things, it can kind of help you optimize that. But like she's mentioned, you ask it to play a certain role. I love that. You know, ask it to be your CFO for the minute, and it will talk to you as if it was, or be your accountant, or be your chief editor, or whatever you ask it to be. Yeah, you could be really specific and have it hone in on those things.
I would like to take that data from this software that I use and figure out, because, you know, forever prices are changing. Materials, you know, I'm flat rates for the most part. To take that data consistently and then figure out where you're, I wouldn't say losing money, but not making as much profit as you could be. You know, it's like, you know, hot water tank costs this much to put in. Well, hot water tank the price of them just keeps going
That's why
up.
you need to know your multipliers.
Yeah,
You
so
got to know
just-
your buy multipliers, and if it's in your estimating program, better yet. If it's in your Excel sheet, that's okay too.
Yeah.
But you got to monitor your multipliers and what your deals are that you've made with your supply houses for those buyouts. Because yes, everything keeps going up, and it's really hard to bake escalation costs into a contract nowadays. You know,
Yeah, very
especially
much
when
so.
it changes every day.
But it's a lot easier if you're using the AI, because it's the best mathematician you'll ever find.
Sir, you've got a question?
Real
Yes.
quick, John, you had mentioned about keeping your data for yourself. And there's closed loop and open loop models, and you didn't get into that. But can you give a real quick, maybe a couple of words, maybe a sentence, just short version? What's the best way to do that? What's the best way to keep my information for me, not for everybody else?
Yes. So I think the easiest way right now to do it, and it was mentioned here on the floor, was the ChatGPT 4.0. It's a subscription, but it allows you to make your own decentralized model. And it can be on the App Store, or you can make it private. It doesn't have to be a public app. You can click and make it private. But start building out that model and just putting out all the information. You just drag and drop, different spreadsheets, different things. And as you're dragging and dropping, tell it what it is, tell it what you're thinking about doing with it, set up your goals, and talk to it as if it's your assistant. Talk to it as if it's going to be the operating officer for your company. It's very hard to do, but it's very hard to find what it is you want to put in it. But I just say kind of parse through everything, get organized with your data first, and then you can optimize, and then you can scale. That's really like the model here. But decentralized, public, non-public, that's really a personal preference. I think companies are going to opt to do more decentralized models. IBM Watson is working on one right now for the bigger corporations, because I work for IATMO. We write the codes. We have a lot of copyright material. We have a lot of things that we own intellectual property on, and that is not going to be publicly available for people to utilize in certain ways or bake into their programs. But then you'll find other ones that are more open source. So it's going to be business by business, but the options are there to make it public or private, which is cool.
Question?
First of all, thank you for all you guys for the panel. A quick comment and then the question. I'll try to make it really fast. So it's really fascinating for me because the company I work for, we actually do a lot of the AI work and build things, but it's always for large enterprise, mid-market. So I was really curious coming to this to hear what kind of challenges are in the smaller shops. And I'll say that adoption in the huge places that have tons of resources, they have the same problems.
Sure.
It is so, you guys that are running a small shop though, the huge advantage you have, you don't have to go to legal, you don't have to go to finance, you don't have to get approval. You can just do things to make your business better. So take advantage of that. And then the thing I was going to ask is, a lot of the recommendations you guys have been making are, the large language models, like do this with ChatGPT, et cetera, which is awesome. Is there no off-the-shelf suite of AI-based tools for contractors, for smaller contractors? Is there anything out there? Is that a market that should be filled with things? Like, what's the story?
We've been building them like needed, because I think the word of the year, of the decade, is going to be agents. AI agents. And an agent is like a person or a position that does a specific thing, right? And I think that the agents are going to continue to grow. But I do think that there's some programs out there that are built for marketing or for, estimating, that type of thing, doing takeoffs, but nothing really an integrated suite. So if you want to fund me on that, I'll be happy to build that
What are your
business
current
for you.
rates?
Yeah, it's an open market. It's anybody's game right now, to
That's
be
right.
honest with you. But all the old apps, I mean, I'd say old apps, but only maybe 10 years old, like Procore and some of these other organizations that put together digitization of project management, which really collects all that data. I mean, it's all so new. I'm sure they're working on AI too. I'm sure everybody is at some point within the next year or two. We're going to find all these software organizations are baking bots into their programs so they can kind of read through the back end a little bit cleaner.
Yeah.
But no suites that I've really noticed. I know a lot of companies adopt the Microsoft 365. That's a big thing for most businesses. Copilot's been pretty big, actually. Copilot's been a huge change. It's making it a lot easier for an older generation who's maybe not comfortable with it or doesn't feel like typing out that email and they don't know how to do it. And they're just talking to it like a person. And you mentioned it about the conversational side of that generation. I
Yes.
think they're going to do better.
Well,
to be
I'll
honest
tell
with you.
Yeah, so there is news. So there's this good news for many of us in this room that if you're a little bit older, you're going to get a better result from the large language models because the youngest generation is a lot of typing and not so much conversation, and the large language models understand you better. So,
Yeah,
and I did build a GPT, an AI that's called Granny GPT. So I'm ready for my retirement years.
I need that.
Well, we've got time for one more question.
Great.
I really liked your suitcase story, and so I just wanted to know what AI specifically you used, and then any peripherals that you used. Like, did you use the Meta glasses to do that, or?
No, so inside the upgraded ChatGPT now, there is a way, you'll see these little lines on the space bar. It looks like a radio wave. And if you hit that, you're going to get advanced voice mode, which will then allow you to click the camera. And the camera will be either a video camera or a still camera. And while you're talking to it, you could be showing it. So that's what I did. I'm like, these are all my clothes, and I can't fit them in my suitcase, and I'm not checking my bag because I always lose my stuff. What can I do? And, and it gave me a diagram of how to pack it.
Thank you.
I know, it was really cool, I gotta say.
Yeah.
I built one for thrift store shopping too. So if you like to go thrifting, you can use my Thriftinista app and it will give you the value for whatever you find at the Goodwill.
That's awesome.
I would like that information.
Yes,
Yeah. My GPT is
99% of my clothes are not new.
me too.
My GPT is public. If you guys want to download it and check it out, it's basically everything we talked about today. Throw a wrench in your plans. It's fun. You can check it out for free.
John, was there a QR code?
Yes.
Yeah, there's a QR code out by the door. If you guys have additional questions, feel free to scan it. You can get in contact with any of us, and we'll be happy to shoot you an email and get in touch afterwards or have another conversation. Yeah, put you in touch with some of these links. We didn't have a presentation today, but yeah, scan that link on the way out.
Cool.
Thank you, guys.
Susan, John, Marianne, Tim, thank you so much for this panel. It's been great. Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.